Let's create analog film-like renderings in this Blender tutorial. I have created a very simple scene using these 3D models from Polyheaven. The room has these windows, making it a natural light-only scene. Let me show you the first camera I have placed. I would like to increase the focal length a little bit. Let's turn on the depth of field. I could change the focus distance here, but I prefer to pick the object that I want to be in focus. The higher the f-stop value, the less focal contrast in the field of view. Set up the blaze to 8, which is a usual blade amount in a real camera. I'm not sure if this will make any visual difference in this particular scene, but keep that in mind. The shaders of all imported furniture are as they come. The only modification I did was the roughness of the table. I added a curves node and created this curve, which makes the texture a little bit darker, meaning a less rough reflection. The glass material is just a basic glass node material, but I will talk about the caustics in a while. Choose cycles. Go to World Shaders, create an environment texture node, and let's use this HDR from Polyheaven. The image looks very dark, so I will increase exposure in the color management tab. This looks good enough for a cloudy day interior shot. Now add a sun. I have one previously created. Let's increase the strength. Something like that. Increase the angle to have softer shadows. Back to the scene setup, I love to have the denoise on. Reduce the max samples on the viewport down to 16 because that's enough. These values are good enough for the final render. Did you know that supporting this channel as an enthusiast member on my Patreon allows you to download all project files and grants you free access to all the items in my Patreon shop? Well, now you know. Do you notice this glitchy black part of the glass here? That's because there are not enough ray bounces for that thick and curved mesh. So we need to increase the glossy bounces. 12 seems to be enough, but I will try 24 to see if there is any difference. Keep in mind that increasing these values will increase render time, so we don't want to increase this unnecessarily. Because I don't see any difference, I will just limit the total to 12. This works like a limit cap. Any value above 12 will be limited to 12. I will set the diffuse value to 4 as that's the default value. Let's set up the caustics. Turn on shadow caustics in the sunlight. If you have more lights in your scene, you will need to turn on caustics in every light. Select the glass objects. Go to the Object tab and find the Caustics tab. If you can't find it, just type Caustics here. Turn on Cast Shadows Caustics. Do this for every glass object. Finally, select the object that will receive the caustics and turn on Receive Shadow Caustics. Here we have these nice caustics that add a lot of realism to the image. Keep in mind that this also makes the rendering process slower. Going back to the glass material, we can add some imperfections to increase realism. Get a texture of fingerprints on a surface. I'm connecting it to the diffuse, just so you can see my texture. Add a curves node and draw something like this. This will increase the contrast. Connect it to the roughness. You can see this tiny stain on the glass. It looks awesome. Make sure the color space is always set to non-color for roughness maps. You can use these nodes for scaling the texture, but I don't need them. This is how the curtain shader works. Start with a principal shader node. Get a black and white fabric texture as a diffuse map. Connect it to the color mix setup as overlay and connect a color to the B inlet. You can create fabrics of any color you want. Control to scale of the fabric with this nose. I added a hue saturation value node to increase the value a little bit. Connect your principal shader to a mix shader node. The second shader has to be a translucent shader. Factor decides how translucent the curtain will look. You must also connect your same diffuse map to the translucent shader. The translucency effect on the curtain material is now achieved. Let's now make the light go through it. Connect a new mix shader node, and the second inlet will be a transparent shader. In this case, the factor is not useful as it is. Create a light path node and use the isShadowRay outlet. This means that light rays will behave as if the object is transparent, while camera rays will still be able to see the object. This image looks good enough for me, so I will render it and open it in Photoshop. Convert for small filters and apply the camera raw filter. A usual characteristic of analog film is how well it can preserve the highlights. Reduce this value to recover pixels that are too white. Reduce the blacks value to make dark pixels darker, which is another common characteristic of analog film. In the color tab, make the image a bit warmer and add a nice green tint. I increased the vibrance as well. Add a vignette and a lot of crazy grain. Play with the values. Create more contrast between color with the clarity slider. Play with the curves. My fantasy analog film in this case is one where the darkest pixels are all black and there are no pure white pixels. At this point, you may need to adjust your exposure value. Color gradient defines almost the entire personality of an image. Play with these values. Many analog films have darker areas with a bluish or greenish tint. I will also add some to the highlights. Click OK and the first edit is done. Bring the Layers tab to the front. Double-click Camera Raw filter. Create a preset. I call it Green Analog. You can reset to default. Then go to Presets, User Presets and load your preset here. With this slider you can decide how much of the preset to apply. Reset once again and try a different configuration. My second edit is much more subtle. Go to canvas size and add some extra pixels to the edges. Create a layer behind, paint it white, and we are done. I have these two extra cameras. Convert them for small filters, apply a camera raw filter, and load a preset. You can modify the settings afterwards. Add frames for each. And here you have it, some analog film style pictures made with Blender and Photoshop.